Well, one story that caught my eye recently was the fact that it seems there are problems with the rebuild. And gosh, it's a long time ago now, isn't it, the big Christchurch earthquake? But one of the most symbolic buildings in Christchurch, and a building that symbolised in some way the destruction wrought on the city, is Christchurch Cathedral. And really sad, actually, the more important building architecturally was the Catholic Basilica, which my family has some connection to, but that has been demolished. That was amazing, wasn't it? The statue of the angel turned round. But apparently the rebuild of the cathedral has been stalled. And I thought to find out what was happening down there, we go to the guy who knows all about news and what's happening in Christchurch. And I'm sure wasn't part of the survey of low trust in news media. He's part of the new news media. Chris Lynch from Chris Lynch Media in Christchurch joins us. Chris, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Sean. How are you?
Very well. So the cathedral, this is really, I guess, for people outside Christchurch, or people from Christchurch who've moved elsewhere, this is the symbol of Christchurch. And there was a huge kerfuffle, I remember at the time, about whether it was going to be bowled or rebuilt. They went for rebuilt. What's gone wrong?
Yeah, just to recap for your viewers and listeners, about it must have been 2013 now, actually the Anglican Church tried to bowl the blooming thing down. Right. And it was stopped by a High Court injunction from the likes of Philip Burton and from the late Jim Anderton. And so basically, what the church knew and what most normal, reasonable-minded people knew was the fact this was going to be a colossal waste of money, and it was never, ever going to be rebuilt simply because of the costs involved in trying to rebuild this masterpiece. And so, unsurprisingly, we now find ourselves in a situation where they have to mothball it because they've run out of money. And they say they need another $114 million. They'll need probably double that, in my opinion. And now they're saying they'll need $30 million by August, otherwise the project will be mothballed indefinitely.
That is getting more expensive than the Wellington Town Hall, Chris.
And the thing is, Sean, I always knew this was going to be the case. That the writing was on the wall from day one, and rightly or wrongly, back then Bishop Victoria Matthews said she'd rather spend the money on people and make a pared down version, a modern looking cathedral, which, if she had her way, looking back now, it would have been finished by now. But now you had the sentimentalists of the city and massive egos that couldn't get past the fact that it was just a building. And now we're stuck with this. Moreover, the fact that we've spent $10 million of council cash. When Leanne Dalzell was the Mayor of Christchurch, she decided to give the church $10 million, ratepayer money that is, and ironically, the majority of ratepayers said, no, we don't want our money going towards the cathedral. The Anglican Church at the time was one of the biggest landlords in Christchurch, but now we're stuck with this. And so, and there have been many commentators over the years with this sentimental value saying, oh, it's just wonderful for Christchurch, it's the heart of Christchurch, and now they're all silent. Because now we've got this big thing in the middle of the city where there's been costs overruns, and it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster.
Okay, but, if you didn't get the money, could you just bowl it now? How much would it cost to bowl the thing?
Probably several $1 million, Sean, I would imagine.
But might be cheaper than going ahead. And I think Wellingtonians look at their Civic Centre and their old town hall, and we say, and just say we should have bitten the bullet at the outset, and many say we should have bitten the bullet halfway through and just said, nah, knock it down.
It's a real possibility. Knock the blooming thing down, put a giant McDonald's in, and everybody will be happy. No, but seriously, when I was working on the radio 10 years ago and we were having these discussions, what was abundantly clear is that this has become an industry. This whole cathedral reinstatement thing has become nothing more than an industry. You had, different factions and different people and different public relations companies all trying to get trying to get a bit of cash on the side.
You had lots of consultants.
Yeah. That's right. Then you had local iwi with their little wee mitts involved as well, trying to make sure they had some kind of Māori representation inside and outside the cathedral. So you had a lot of things at play here, a lot of industry. I mean, this became an industry in itself, and there's been plenty of people in this city who have made damn good coin from pretending to care about the restoration of the cathedral.
Yeah, and no doubt when they knocked down the basilica, which my great-grandfather chaired the committee that built that basilica, and it was internationally architected. The Catholics, they just knock it down, move on.
Yeah, they do.
All right,
They
so
do.
what is public opinion saying, Chris? What is the Christchurch person in the street saying?
Knock it down. They don't care. They're over it. They're bored by it. Sentiment has certainly changed from 10 years ago. People don't really care, Sean. I mean, it's all very well to say it was the heart of the city and all this kind of nonsense, but it wasn't really. I mean, the cathedral, the square itself is a dump.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I mean, you've got a couple of tacky markets that go on there on a Friday and Saturday. It's hardly spectacular. To be fair, the council has tried to put like the library that was supposed to sort of spark international interest around the cathedral. It hasn't. You've got the convention centre, which saddles the cathedral square area. I mean, it looks like a big concrete block, to be honest. It's ugly as hell. So they've tried to do bits and pieces, but unfortunately the square is, in my view, one big giant fail itself. There has been some hope with the actual revitalisation of the square. They've got like another food eatery place that's supposed to be opening up, but that's been delayed.
Is the cardboard cathedral still there? Is the cardboard cathedral?
Yep. The cardboard cathedral's still there. That's owned by the Anglicans, of course. That's it's sort of called a transitional cathedral, but in actual fact, it's pretty permanent. It looks good at night time. In fact, that's become more of a tourist attraction in itself, in some respects.